I'd like to call this regular scheduled board meeting to order. We can please stand for a moment of silence. Vinny, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and text flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Item 4, roll call. Let the record reflect that Rolando Aguilar will not be attending today's meeting. Joe Colunga called Mr. Springston. He was running a few minutes late, and everybody else is present. Item 5, Pat?
Recommend approving the agenda of the regular board meeting of February 16, 2010 with any corrections or deletions.
Mr. Springston?
Thank you, Mr. President. Item number 11, if you please remove first reading from the agenda, the item should read presentation of policy EIE local. Agenda backup is correct.
Okay.
Also,
Any other changes?
yes, if we can move the order of the agenda, I would like to move item number 23
To number 2.
to number 2, please.
23?
To
23 or 22?
To number 2 of what?
To conference presentation, to move this one up to the conference presentation.
Item 23.
you want to, I mean, I guess I would probably prefer if you guys moved it to directly after item 2, so we can get the children out of the way. Item
You
1
wanna
and,
go
item
ahead
1
and
and
put
2
it-
is presentation of schools and children. So if
Okay,
you
you
guys
wa-
want to do it after 2, I think that'd be fine.
Okay, then let's move it
Yes,
to be
we'll
the
do the
third item
children
then.
first.
Item number 3. Okay, so we're going to move item
Need a second?
23
I second.
Take a vote.
to immediately after number 2. I got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Let the record reflect that Mr. Colunga has just joined us. Okay, so number 6.
Recommend approving the consent agenda. The board has agreed to discuss the following items. All of the items below that are not called out will be approved by consent.
I have received the list that we will be discussing item number 17, 22, 23, 24, 33,
Can you slow down, please?
39, 43, 46, 52, and then closed meeting personnel matters, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, and 64.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I believe items 13 and 14 also need to go. Not on consent, but to be circled. Those are the level 3 agreements.
At the level 3, 13 and 14. Yes. Joe, did you want to add anything?
Not at this time.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve.
Got a motion,
Hold on.
Dr. Escobedo,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Sias. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Move on to superintendent's report, item number 7, conference presentation number 1, Ms. Pettis.
Recognition of chess team winners at the TCA Region 8 Chess Championship.
Mr. Springston?
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, we will go ahead and start with our recognition of all of our chess winners, and I will introduce Ms. Mary Jo Monfals, Assistant Superintendent over that area.
Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Springston, I will turn the agenda item over to Merrill Hammonds. He is our program administrator for advanced academics, under which CHESS does lay. Mr. Hammonds.
Thank you, Ms. Monfals. Mr. Cortez, Superintendent, Mr. Springston, ladies and gentlemen of the board and the audience. Once again, the BISD chess program has done a tremendous job in competition. We are here tonight to recognize individuals and teams who placed in the top 3 at the regional chess tournament and thus qualifying to go to nationals. At this time, I'll turn the introductions over to Ms. Corina Caballero, District UIL Chess Coordinator, who will present those advancing to nationals, their coaches, and their principals. Ms. Caballero.
Thank you, Mr. Hammonds. Good evening, Mr. Cortez, Superintendent, Mr. Springston, ladies and gentlemen of the board and members in the audience. It is with great honor that I present the Texas Chess Association Region 8 Chess Champions. They participated on January 23rd, 24th in Brownsville, Texas, and we produced 7 teams that will be representing Brownsville at the national levels. Traveling to Atlanta, Georgia, we have elementary level teams in the K1 division from Benavides Elementary, second place, the K1 team. We have Jose Carlos Coronado, Daniel de la Fuente, Eric Gutierrez, Vivek Kevel, and Alan Lopez. Their coach, Sonia Garcia, and their principal, Ms. Sherry Stout.
Get them to come around. Sure we'll go down there with them?
Y'all want to stay down there, or y'all want to?
Little dudes.
Y'all want to stay down there with them? Want to stay down there with them? The whole presentation?
I think so.
Hey, Daddy, that's a big trophy you got there. Congratulations.
So proud of you.
Good job, good job. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations.
So cute.
I'm really happy.
Yeah.
After they're done, bring him for the photo.
Yeah.
Proud of you.
Hi, darling. Congratulations. That's what I'm asking. Good job, honey. Congratulations. There you go. It's all right, darling. Congratulations. Good job, darling. Good job, Sharon. Okay.
Hi, sir. How you doing?
I don't even have to send our tippy toes here. But this won't last long, right?
Also in the K1 division, we have Egley Elementary, who placed 3rd. We have Moises Hernandez, Alexis Robinson, Dante Guillen, Ilian de los Santos, Robert Stone, Diego Guillen, Leanne Castro, and Doris Roman. Their coach, Mr. Ernesto Guillen, their principal, Ms. Christina Bridgewater, and their assistant principal, Mr. Pedro Vidal.
Congratulations, son. Good job.
I'm so proud of you.
Congratulations, Mama. Good job. You're so cute. Congratulations, Miss Peña. They just drove up. Congratulations.
Good job, man.
Congratulations. Good job. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Good job, sir. Dana, good job.
Boy or girl? Boy, girl. She's gonna change. Change your life. No, grandma rules.
You guys are awesome. Good job. Good job. Awesome. Good job.
In the primary division, we have Hudson Elementary first place at regionals with their team Alfonso Salais, Prietra Cruz, Jose Castillo, Ramses Linan, Ismael Llamas, Troy Treviño, Norberto Manzanares, Fernando Díaz, Jorge Mares, Ariel Garza, Cristian Leiva, Davin Flores, Alexia Leiva, Arturo Alfaro III, Barbara Escobedo, Sabrina Gabbard. Their coach, Mr. Luis Gomez and Mr. Sergio Novello, and their principal, Dr. Rita Hernandez.
Ms. Hernandez, can you help him with the trophy? We don't want him to fall. We can go send it.
Congratulations.
Somebody dropped the certificate. Wow, such a great. I'm so proud of you. Congratulations. Y'all did such a wonderful job. I did great. Y'all did great.
Congratulations again.
I'm very proud of you. And the girls did good, and the girls learned that school. Yeah. Congratulations, Mama. Congratulations. Congratulations. Good to see you.
Congratulations.
Bring him here.
Congratulations, sir.
Hey, get them all situated. Joe, get everybody to look at you.
Merrill is,
Joe, take another one. Here's this kiddo right here.
Hey, Hudson. See, I'm practicing.
Don't move.
That's why the idea is they're going back there.
Congratulations, guys. You're
Good job, guys.
That's why I'm going.
You're Troy, right? I remember you, Troy. How you doing?
Good luck in nationals. Good luck in nationals.
Great job.
I know, because I didn't have the picture with the movie star. It's all about equality.
get all 15 out? Okay. So all of it.
Okay, we continue with Paredes Elementary. We have one student in the division of the K1, Raul Santoyo. He individually placed third. His team did not qualify, but because he placed third, he qualifies to go to nationals. So congratulations to him. And we continue with the Paredes primary team.
Take a picture, Joe. Joe.
The And we continue with the Paredes primary team, who placed third, and the Paredes elementary team, who placed first. We have Cristalia Cárdenas, Brianna Lambari, Jesse Guillen, Fernando Montanares, Victoria Flores, Isaí Bustinza, Amalur Treviño, Luis Hinojosa, Elizabeth Guajardo, Ivan Ramos, Areli Franrouge, Nadia Gutierrez, Sofia Cortez, Janice Olucaton, Christopher Cárdenas, Brianna Guillen, Daniel Argüelles, Ricardo Santoyo, John Stephen Flores, Edgar Santoyo, Carlos Rodríguez, Eduardo López, Isaac Bustinza, Izar Treviño, Daniel Irrizuris, Vanessa Shelf, Ray Tarpey, Samantha Avila, Jansen Guillen, Dania Hinojosa, Netayana Flores, Stephanie Montes de Oca, and Raúl. And that's it. And we have the coach, Ms. Aida Montanaro, and the principal, Ms. Julie Treviño. Congratulations to Paredes Elementary.
Congratulations, son. Good job. Good job, Mama. Good job. Good job, Mama. Good job. Good job. Good job, Mama. How you doing? Good job. Good job, Mama. Good job, babe. Good job, son. Good job. Good job.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Mama. Good job.
No, congratulations.
Proud of you guys. Go Paredes.
They're bringing it. They're bringing it. They had to go upstairs to get it.
And at the middle school level, traveling to Minneapolis, Minnesota, we have Vela Middle School, who placed first, James Ucoli, Sergio Lambari, Ian Santos, Gabriel Gomez, Elizabeth Vasquez, Fernando Mendez, Douglas Alford, Elizabeth Ucoli, Kyle Valdez, Alan Olmos, Christian Cárdenas, Joshua Martinez, Chris Barriosingle, Matthew Gutierrez, Galen Butong, Fernando Paredes, Jeffrey Hung, William Shelf, Christian Argüelles, Shangir Siddiqui, Stephen Barroso Engel, Jose Guerrero, Jaime Ibarra, Daniel Durazo, Karina Lopez, Levi Jaramillo, Kimberly Risuris, Cesar Morales, Jennifer Guerra, John Iduasa, and Richard Almeida. Their coaches, Mr. Victor Flores and Mr. Tony Mesa, and their Dean of Instruction, Mr. Salazar.
Good job, son. Good job, Mama. Good job, Mama. Good job. Congratulations, baby. Congratulations, son. Congratulations. Big trophy there. Congratulations, son. Good job, you know. Good job, baby. Good job. Good job, sir. Good job, sir. Congratulations. Congratulations, sir.
Qué honor, manita. Aquí estamos. Labor que han hecho.
She kind of looks like Gate Ranger. It looks like her, but it's not her. It's brown.
Hey, sir. Hi, how you doing? I remember you.
And traveling to Columbus, Ohio, we have Hannah High School, who placed second at regionals, Deidre Igareda, Michael Rogers, Christian Ramirez, Ivana Santos, Renee Martinez Jr., Aaron Solivas, Juan Delgado Jr., Ian Gonzalez, Lucas Garza, Chase Sudan, Lauren Rogers, John Davila Jr., Kathleen Preble, Daniel Casas, Pierre Cantu, and Eduardo Guerra. Their coaches, Ms. Nelda Rogers and Ms. Rebecca Preble.
Co-champions, please. We're co-champions.
Oh, co-champions. Co-champions. And Mr. Alex Ansaldúa, their assistant principal.
Congratulations, Mama. Good job. Congratulations, son. Pretty trophy. Good job, Mama. Good job, son. Good job, son. Good job, Mama. Good job, baby. Good job. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Mama. Good job. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Congratulations. You guys should be very happy. Thank you. Thank you for all the work you did. Thank you.
Joe, pick one more just to be safe.
Unstuffy the room.
Joe, get some pictures of him.
Make sure you all get one for me. Are we ready to read number 23? Are we ready to read the next one?
Just a second.
Hi, Ms. Rogers, how you doing? Good to see you. Doing okay? We just kind of, no, it's all right. Hey, I understand. It's cool.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers. Oh, yeah, we're reading item number 2. Oh, okay.
Distinguished performance.
Like 20 minutes.
Done? One last one?
One more.
Item number 2, recognition of TEA Title I, Part A, Distinguished Performance and Distinguished Progress Campus.
Ms. Monfils, if you will go ahead and lead our distinguished campuses in for us, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Cortez, members of the board, Mr. Springston. Title I Distinguished Performance and Distinguished Progress Criteria is a very high award for schools all over the United States. Schools have to have been exemplary in 2009, exemplary or recognized in 2008, and exemplary or recognized in 2007. And of course, that's on the tax test. They also have to meet adequate yearly progress, have to have certain criteria with regard to the numbers of low SES students, and have to have been Title I campuses, which of course BISD is a school-wide Title I district. So I now present you with Ms. Mary Lou Esparza, our program administrator, and she will introduce the individual schools.
Thank you very much, Ms. Monfiles. It's a great honor to come before you. And like she said, it's a great accomplishment because they really have to maintain AYP for 2 years, and their scores recognized exemplary for 2 to 3 years. So it's an honor to be here, and I'm ready to present the very first campus. Mr. Springston, will you join us in presenting the certificates to them? The certificates read the following: in recognition of your distinguished academic performance and pursuance of high standards, which serve as a model for other Title I schools in the state of Texas. And now, representing the Hanna Cluster and Area Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Carl Montoya, we have Egli Elementary Principal, Christina Bridgewater. Fifth grade teachers, Erlinda Hernandez. Fifth grade students, Adam Lopez. And one of the many supportive parents, Mr. Pedro Vidal. Thank you. The next school is Hudson Elementary. Dr. Rita Hernandez, principal. Armando Salazar, fifth grade teacher. Linda Garza, fourth grade students, and her mother, Nora Garza.
Great job. Congratulations, Mama. Good job. We need to do a proclamation for you. Right? Medical Paredes.
Stay.
Rosalba.
There we go.
Thank you. The next school is Dr. Americo Paredes Elementary. Julie Treviño is the principal. Pamela Gallegos, fourth grade teacher, and her son, Javier Gallegos, in kinder. Mia Ansaldúa, third grade student. Aiden Ansaldúa, first grade student, and their mother, Diana Ansaldúa.
Congratulations. Good job. Congratulations, Mama. Good job. Good job, son. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
I want a picture. I want to talk to Drew and get a picture.
Shortly.
Thank you. The next school is Perez Elementary. Ruben H. Martinez, principal. Amanda Zurita, third grade teacher. Luis Carlos Ramirez, fourth grade student, and his parents, Luis and Patricia Ramirez.
Congratulations. You're ready to go. Congratulations. Congratulations. Congratulations, baby. Good job. Congratulations.
Yeah, came here for this. Just to say thank you.
Anything else, Ben?
Yes, ma'am. Just a minute. Yeah, there is.
There's a reason for it. There's a reason for it.
Thank you. Representing the Lopez Cluster and Area Assistant Superintendent Ms. Mary Jo Monfiles, we have Aiken Elementary. E.J. Martinez, Principal. Fourth grade teacher Gina Anaya. David Vera, Jr., fourth grade student, and his mom, Ana Gonzalez.
Great job. Thanks. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations, baby. Good job.
Congratulations.
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 Congratulations, sir.
Thank you. The following school is Morningside Elementary. Lolita Cisneros Emerson, their principal. Virginia Molina, their reading first coach. Brianna Robles, third grade student, and her mother, Miss Marta Laura Rosenbaum.
Congratulations. 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 Take a picture.
Thank you. The following school is Southmost Elementary. Jimmy Haynes is the principal. Jaime Benitez, parent liaison. Third grade teacher, Laura Peña. Marco Alonso Jr., third grade student, and Alejandro Alonso, first grade student, with their mom, Maria de Lourdes Rubio.
Good job, eh? Congratulations, you're so handsome.
Thank you. Representing the PACE cluster and Area Assistant Superintendent, Mr. Carlos Guerra, we have Benavides Elementary. Their principal, Ms. Sherry Stout. Kindergarten teacher, Sonia Garcia. First grade student, Jose Coronado, and his mother, Christy Coronado. And we also have first grade student, Demrick Gutierrez.
Good job, congratulations. Hey, Daddy, congratulations, babe. Hey, Mama. Is this your baby? Tan chulo, so big, Mama. Congratulations. So, congratulations, Jumbo, man. Congratulations, sweetie.
Thank you. The following school is Martin Elementary. Melba Linda Longoria, assistant principal. Veronica Martinez, fifth grade teacher. Kindergarten student Angelica Longoria, and her brother Carlos Longoria, who's in third grade, accompanied by their grandfather, Rolando Ramirez.
Congratulations, job well done. Congratulations, Mama. Congratulations.
Hello, sir. Welcome back.
How are you doing, Mr. Ramirez? You look good. I haven't seen him in a long time. Who was our media service? He looks good. Oh, he looks good. Oh. He looks good. With the counting, you need a spreadsheet, sir. You need a calculator. What's wrong with you? Oh, wonderful.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
The following school under the PACE clusters, Ortiz Elementary, Sandra Lopez, principal. William Lynch, fourth grade bilingual teacher. Araceli Ortiz, fourth grade students, and her mother, Araceli Soriano Ortiz.
Hey, Sandra, congratulations.
Congratulations, Mama. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good job. Congratulations, babe. Good job. Congratulations. Oye, ya siento que estoy por favor. Se fue, ¿verdad, tu hija? I'm asking you. I guess. Oye, Miss Peña, you know who told me?
Thank you. The following school is Iturria Elementary. Norma Torres is the principal. Maggie Garcia, first grade teacher. Jose Guadalupe Garza Jr., second grade student, and his mother, Edna Garza.
No dejan hablar de tierra tú. Hi, Mama. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. What a sharp-looking little boy here. You're so handsome, Daddy. Congratulations. Oye, oye. ¿Otra vez? Oye, ya. Siéntate ya. Sit down.
Thank you. Representing the Porter Cluster and Area Assistant Superintendent Ms. Rachel Ayala, we have Punet Elementary. Carla Pereira, Principal. 5th grade reading teacher, Paula de la Fuente. Esmeralda Loera, 5th grade student, and her mother, Aida Loera.
Congratulations, my dear.
Congratulations. Hola, madre. ¿Cómo está? Mira, qué bueno, madre. Me da mucho gusto.
The ladies. Loera. The ladies. Good job, Mother.
Thank you. Representing the Rivera Cluster and Area Assistant Superintendent Berta Peña, we have Dr. Linda Gallegos, Principal for Dr. Ruben Gallegos Elementary. Ofelia Cuevas, Assistant Principal. Christopher Moreno, 1st grade student, and his mother, Joanne Moreno.
Congratulations, Mom. Good job. Congratulations, Mom.
Soon as we're done.
Congratulations, son. Good job. Congratulations, Mom. Madre, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. The following school is Gonzalez Elementary, Yolanda H. Kruger, Principal. Maria Moreno, 3rd grade teacher. Rebecca Cárdenas, 4th grade student, and her mother, Susana Cárdenas.
Congratulations.
Yes, sir.
Ready.
Get two, Joe?
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I'd like to close by thanking all of you here tonight for your endless participation and incredible support. Thanks.
Congratulations. You look good. I love your tie. It's so pretty. Get a good shot.
Level 3, okay.
We all take photos. We don't.
Come on.
Oh, okay.
Now the cameraman. Ah, good. That's nice of you to explain that.
Aquí, María, ponlos ahí.
Thank you for being so thoughtful.
Thank you. Oh, no, no. This is important.
Ah, las dos mujeres.
Pat, item 23.
Presentation by representatives from the Foundation of Advancement for Science and Education phase regarding funding from the production of an educational documentary movie based on BISD's championship chess program for consideration and possible action. Board member request.
Mr. Springston, I think you recall at the last meeting, they had sent in a new memo to legal for review. And so we had given legal some homework to get back with us with some information and for you to make a determination whether we were going to be proceed with this project or not. I just want to, before I pass the floor to Minnie, I just want to get an update from legal and administration on where we're at on this issue, on the viability of this project and where we go from here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this time, I will go ahead and, Mr. Saldana, if you'll give us an update.
Mr. President, Mr. Springston, members of the board, I have had the opportunity to review a new draft that was submitted by FASE and also to continue discussions with Mr. Gosa, who has basically become their local informal representative from what I understand. We've had extensive telephone conversations in the last couple of weeks. And it appears at this point in time that we may be able to work something out. We feel that the constitutional issue regarding gifts of public funds can be adequately addressed, and that the three-part or the three-prong test that is provided by the Attorney General in guiding public entities such as the Brownsville Independent School District can be met. We are going to be requesting some stronger language in the contract in regards to certain obligations and indemnifications of the parties. However, in answer to your question that was posed to me initially, the answer is yes, that it can be done. I think that if we tailor the agreement in such a way that we kind of roll it into a licensing agreement, as I discussed with you earlier, Mr. Springston, allowing them to maintain the rights but giving us some participation. It's something that we should be able to work out. Now, the one caveat that I bring to my recommendation at this point in time is that we do run it through the procurement process, however short it may be, but I feel that it would better insulate this board from any potential action that may be out there. So that is my recommendation at this time.
Well, it sounds better than what it has sounded like in the past. What about administration?
Well, of course, I would like to entertain or at least ask a few questions, you know, on behalf of the school district when it comes to funds. At one time, we were talking about the $75,000, and it went up to 100, then 175. Are there any other donations or donators out there that are also funding and working as we are?
Mr. Superintendent, Chairman Aguilar, members of the board, there have been a number of, there have been a number of private donations made. I think they're up to in the neighborhood of $25,000 or so. Mr. Haro's here, and he knows the up-to-date figure. But to answer your question, yes, there have been a number of other contributors, and that budget that of $175,000 is what remains at this point to complete the project. There's already been a great deal of work done and a good deal of money spent. But and we can get those exact numbers, but the remainder that's being sought from the school board of $175,000 is what it would take to finalize the project and to bring it to completion, and to also provide the educational kits and the other things which the Foundation for the Advancement of the Science and Education has offered to do.
So the entire project itself is projected to cost about $200,000.
Otto, can you help me with that?
Thank you, Mr. Springsteen. It's, as I stated before, it's an ongoing project. The overall, when we say the film can be completed and the start of the study guides can take place with that money, we definitely will finish the documentary and post-production. We continue to seek additional funds to continue the educational component. So it will be a long, ongoing project. But as far as providing for what Brownsville needs, and as far as meeting the requirements of the MOU that's been submitted, for that amount, we will be able to guarantee what we've stated in the MOU.
Also, Mr. Springston, if you've had a chance to review the MOU, there are a number of checkpoints in place in the proposed agreement where the school district, the Foundation for FASE would have to complete filming before certain payments are made. They have to complete editing before certain payments are made. So it's set up in a way that the district would retain some control over the production process. In other words, you'd be paying for something after it had been completed and had been demonstrated to this board that they had completed that portion of the agreement before they would be paid.
Okay. I know we're not in the movie making business at all, and no. I retain the fact that I'm asking questions just because of my curiosity and for the protection of this district on legal sides. I'm also looking at our budget, you know, and I wonder when it went from 75 to 175 if there was going to be other avenues of resources that you were going to entertain, because when I look at my next year's budget, I'm wondering if I should take $75,000 and try to entertain that into the chess budget, because we just shook hands with about 120 kids. I want to make it 160 kids.
Sure.
And if funding those things help do those things, then I'm looking at these avenues, and that's why I'm asking all of these questions. And so I think you stated that we were the last resource. Am I correct?
Well, as Mr. Hotto stated, I think that there's ongoing efforts to find additional funding, but for the project as it's been described and presented to the board, the school board, then that would be the amount that's required to finalize that, to bring it to fruition, to be able to hand you back a fully produced documentary film, as Mr. Hotto indicated, the educational packets that would go with that for each campus. All of that would be part of the Brownsville project. And it was really FASE that I think kind of had the vision initially. I mean, we live here and we were aware of all the success, but as they brought it to the community, they pointed out how this could become something that was not just important here locally as we know it to be, but even on a national basis. And as Mr. Saldana said, I mean, he's looked extensively at this, and Mr. Springsteen, I know you have too. There's been a good deal of due diligence done to make sure that it was being done properly.
Yes, sir.
And I certainly, can vouch for that. Having said that, I'd like to say just a few more words about the project and what it's intended to do. And if I could, before I introduce Mr. Olmos, which I know is who everybody really wants to hear from, not me, is to say that in trying to think about what I might say as I introduced him and reintroduce this to you all, one thing that stuck in my mind was speaking to Andy Zamora, who you all know as having been a product of this chess program. He won many regional championships, won a state championship, won a national championship individually as well as part of the team. And he's here with us today, and I asked him, I said, if I get put up in front of the microphone, would you mind if I invite you up to speak? Because to me, I think the story is really about him and his peers, his fellow students, his teachers. He declined. Typically he's real humble, and even though he's a national champion, he said, I prefer, that you just say that it wasn't really about me. It was really about all the people in this process that said yes to me. And I think that's what, Mr. Saldana is saying. I think that's what the school board is saying, is yes to this program and yes to this project. Mr. Zamora said that when he first asked J.J. Guajardo, his second grade teacher, if they could play chess, that probably Mr. Guajardo should have said no, but instead he said yes. And when they went to the school principal of Rachel Ayala and asked her about creating a chess program, probably she should have said no, but instead she said yes. And I think that's, I think we've checked off the squares and the boxes as far as I'm aware and satisfied the requirements, and what's left now, I think, is for us to be able to hold this project up as an example to the whole community of winning and how you've done it here at this school district, up to including today with all the presentations you've made today and hopefully approving this project. I think it's a real statement of affirmation for our community. And if I may, I'd like to now introduce the person who you would probably really like to hear from, Mr. Olmos. He's with us here today, just at his own expense. Thank you. Not at all. Thank you.
Que Dios los bendiga. Muchas gracias por tenerme aquí y por todo el trabajo que han hecho ustedes. Una increíble ejemplo para todo el mundo. For those of you that are Spanish impaired, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Let me just say this to you. Thank you 1,000 times over. I stand here and saying, yes, I represent FASE at this moment in time, and for good reason. I think their integrity and their commitment to the advancement of all of our humanity in science and education is incredible. They've helped me for 30 years. They helped me do Stand and Deliver. They helped me do Lives in Hazard. They helped me do It Ain't Love. They've helped me do so many wonderful, wonderful pieces of work that could never have been done had it not been for them. And this is another one. Because with your commitment in bringing this to light, you're really going to expose something that, yes, the chess world knows of Brownsville very well. Very, very well. When they see the black shirts coming in, they get a little paranoid. And for good reason. You've created, through the help of Rachel and through the help of JJ and all of you that have participated in this, and there are many, countless amount of parents and teachers and people who have just devoted themselves to trying to make sure that our children had an opportunity to understand this game. A game that will prove to all the world, and that many of the chess players know it already, but how many people really can look at what it has done to second graders, third graders, fourth graders, fifth graders, sixth graders, when it breeds self-esteem, self-respect, and self-worth to the highest level. If you want to change a child's life, infuse them with self-esteem. You want to help a child be all they can be? Infuse them with self-respect and self-worth. You want to really know what you guys have done? Take a look at your children. There was 120 of them here. There should be 1,000. You should put, if I don't know how much money you're putting into this program, 3 times the amount, 5 times the amount you should put into this. You've hit a gold mine, a resource, a single resource that will not be met by any other type of mental understanding. Nobody, I'm not kidding you, I did the best movie in the history of film. Why do I say that? Because Stand and Deliver is the single most important film ever made in the history of motion picture. Why do I say that? Because more people have seen Stand and Deliver than Jaws, E.T., or, Avatar, okay? I don't care how many billions they made in 2 months. They made $2 billion, $1 billion a month. They don't put a freckle on Stand and Deliver. Why? Because for 22 years, teachers and students have watched that movie together and been inspired and given health to the condition of understanding your mind around mathematics, a language that is really difficult, very difficult, unless you have someone that can give you a sense of confidence. Well, chess gives you an incredible amount of confidence. And let me tell you something. AP students don't have a chance once they hit a chess player that started at the age of 3, 4, 6, 8, when they're playing against them in mathematics, because the conditioning of the mind, when it works with chess, automatically becomes a situation that evolves the brain. What you've done is a miracle. It's a miracle in just saying yes, Rachel. Just saying yes, JJ. Just saying yes to kids saying, hey, can I play a game of chess here for a little while? You could have easily said, this is a schoolroom, excuse me, go somewhere else to play chess. Here you're going to have to study reading, writing, and arithmetic. That's it. Excuse me, over. But instead, what you did is uncovered. And I'm not kidding you. I don't know about anybody in this room, but I would rather play chess at the age of 6 or 7 than to study mathematics. Okay? I like math, but I got to tell you, it's not as much fun as trying to figure out how to move your pawns around, how to move your queen, how to protect your king, how to play this little game against somebody else. And slowly you start to think how to compute, how to analyze, how to discover the use of the human mind. And I got to tell you right now, you guys have done it, and you guys deserve this. And to invest in a film about yourselves, you ask anybody that's had a good documentary made about them as to how they feel. Funding back to you is, you can show this movie to people in your community and ask them for 15 times what you put into this movie. You don't have to wait for the outside world to say, oh, yes, we love this movie. Because I tell you right now, I am not rich, and I'm not that famous by choice because of the kind of work that I've done. I stand here in front of you not as a major, major, major star, but as a person who's given themselves to this community and to all the communities across this country. And I became a national shrine to this community and to all of our people, all the different cultures, because I give more than I receive. And that's what you're doing right now. By allowing Faze and by allowing Danny and his group to make this motion picture, you will allow people to understand the power and the process that it took to get to this level. You have 20 years of dominating. You're one of the top 5, in the top 5% of all chess players in the country. You guys have them right here. This is it. You guys are the cream of the crop. And why? Is it because Brownsville is richer, has more wealth? Is it because your children are smarter? No. You gave them the opportunity to explore their brain. God bless you guys. I'm here to say thank you to you. It's an honor and a privilege to be standing here in front of you to say to Brownsville, you guys deserve the feeling you're going to get and you're getting from all of this. You guys are national heroes. Brownsville deserves it. It's enough that we have to deal with what we deal with in this country and what they think of us. I love all of you for doing this, and especially the families. May they continue to breed this and make it like if you're from Brownsville, you are a champion of champions. And if you need to ask me any questions, I open up to the floor for you to ask me any questions you want to ask.
First of all, I want to thank you very much for coming here. Es un orgullo tenerlo aquí presente a usted, representando lo que representa y venir a nuestra casa a facilitarnos porque lo que hemos hecho por los niños. Con todo corazón, toda la comunidad de Brownsville, le damos gracias. And one thing I want to say thank you very much. The community, it's an honor and it's a privilege to have you here. And all the community, we thank you because you came down, you gave of your time to come here and tell us what we already know, that our kids are the best. And we showcase our kids, and through the help of this program, this is what the bottom line is, to showcase our kids, to be able to go out in the country and move across the country as they get older and they continue their education. So when they say, and they ask them, where are you from? And they say, Texas. And they say, what city? And they say, Brownsville. And they're like, oh, Brownsville. Then they know they got the best from the best. And I appreciate that very much, sir. I want to let you know that I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much for being here with us tonight. And I know that everybody is excited having you here. But I'd like to share this with the community and with FACE and with our superintendent. This has been in the making since November. We all know that it is something that we have been looking forward to. This is not something that we should have been asking all these questions at this point in time. I've reviewed several documents and I've done my own research. I think that if we've been risk takers for other issues that we've had, I think that it is only fair that we do what's right for our students. This is something that not just will this generation benefit from, but our other children that will come in the future. I was one that watched Stand and Deliver. Mr. Olmos, you're one of, I mean, I admire you. You're a great actor. Stand and Deliver is something that I've watched numerous times, like you've said. And I think that if this documentary is going to serve just like Stand and Deliver, then we need to move on it. We need to start heading forward. We need to make a decision. We've been spending tax dollars on reviewing these documents, going back and forth from attorney to attorney, and it's just very frustrating. I think that as a board, as a whole, we need to vote on this item and go out for RFPs, go through the procedural process, and let's move on it. We cannot delay this item any longer. Every time our attorney has to review documents, that's tax dollars that we're having to spend. And if we can just make a decision and unite and make the decision, because that's the right thing to do for our students and for the chess program, because I am a chess parent. I was a chess parent at one point in time. My son is dyslexic, and I can assure you he benefited a lot from the chess program. And I know that Ms. Peña has shared the same experience. And as a parent, it's very frustrating when you see a child that has a disability and that struggles, but yet we have a program that can help our students, and here we are going around and around it instead of making a decision. So let's move forward, and I motion to move on it.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez. Mr. Olmos, earlier I said welcome to Brownsville. Now I say welcome to BISD. As you can see, from the awards that we presented moments ago, we're very proud of our district. We've been on the map not only statewide, nationally, but internationally, as I mentioned earlier. I certainly wholeheartedly support this endeavor. I respect legal counsel. I'm glad that you have seen a light at the end of the legal tunnel. I hope that we can follow that light to where we can make this work somehow. Mr. Springston, I completely understand the budgetary process. Well, I wish I did, but I understand your concern in reference to the budgetary process, and I hope that we can somehow work it in to where we can in fact support this endeavor. It's true that we are not in the movie-making business. However, this is not a feature film of some sort. This is documentary in which we are promoting the success that we have experienced here in Brownsville. We're bragging about our students, bragging about our community, which is why I wholeheartedly support this. I hope that the concerns that have been addressed, which are very legitimate concerns, can be answered in a way to where we can move forward and support this. I know that Mr. Otto and others have been working very diligently in private fundraisers, and that's good. There's been a very positive response from the community. I know that some people are kind of waiting to see what we're going to do, and rightly so. And I hope that tonight we can do something positive and move forward and support this program. Thank you.
Mr. Olmos, I want to thank you for coming down here. You've done great things for the Latino community. Obviously, Brownsville has a lot of Latinos, and you're a star. Whether you want to be a superstar or not, you are. The only thing I wanted to ask you was with regards, we have not received the MOU. We have not received what the actual deal is. When a movie is made, correct me if I'm wrong, but usually you have some investors get together, they get a script writer writes a script, then they present the script to some actors like yourself, get a verbal commitment that they want to do the job. Then they go to MGM or Fox or one of these big companies that actually decide, yes, if you have those actors lined up with a script, and then they take the project and they go ahead and invest in the movie, and it goes on. The problem is here, I don't think we've been approached with what the actual final deal is. What are we going to get for the 175? What's happening?
I do have a draft of a proposed MOU. One of the things that I spoke with Mr. Goza about was exactly the questions that you're inquiring, and that was, well, what was the business model going to be? And I think that is something that we still need to see, but I think it's not anything that's going to stop this project. I think we can work it out as long as we get it all on writing.
And I guess my point is more than anything, I think all board members here want to move this project forward. It's obviously a good thing for the community. It's obviously a good thing for kids. It's a no-brainer. It is something that we have very unique in Brownsville. For whatever reason, God has blessed us with a lot of kids that really know how to play chess. It may have something to do with the water we drink from the Rio Grande. I don't know. But on a practical standpoint, we have to know what the business model is before we can approve it. I think it would be very premature today to approve it. Maybe if we had the business model by the next meeting, we could approve something, because I don't know what the business model or what we're getting for the money that we're spending. It hasn't been presented to us in any format. The superintendent hasn't presented to us, okay, as a recommendation. Am I right, Mike, or am I wrong?
Yes, sir. What I would recommend is to follow up on Ms. Garcia's recommendation to get this project moving, and that would be some type of motion to authorize administration to
start negotiating,
to list some specifications out there to get together with purchasing to see how we could get this done quickly, and authorize them to move forward administratively in terms of getting those hurdles behind us, negotiating, finalizing the negotiations of an agreement, and coming back with a recommendation at that point that's clean and ready to go and be voted on by the school board. But again, to follow up in the spirit of trying to get things moving along, perhaps a motion to authorize administration to seek a proposal in this matter and take care of all our Chapter 44 procurement issues, get those behind us, and have them, and have Mr. Springston with the authority to be able to come forward with a full meal deal next time, so to speak, and get the job done. I will get the job done, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
Mr. Yes. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Haro, Mr. Olmos, Mr. Goza. A documentary is not the same thing as a movie with actors, am I correct?
Yes, it's completely different.
We're talking apples and oranges here. Here we're speaking
more
about a
like-
documentary, am I correct?
Yes. Documentation of human behavior is the highest form of understanding of the usage of film. Film is truly the gift of being able to document us, and it really attacks the subconscious mind like no other art form that's ever been created in the history of humanity. Whenever you sit down and watch a television, or you watch a major, especially when you project it on the big screen, it attacks the subconscious mind totally. Every image, everything goes right in. Our conscious mind, thinking that it's smart and that it controls us, sits there and says, well, that's incredible, wow, and puts values on everything. But the subconscious mind is like a computer. It just gets all the information. And it doesn't say this is good, this is bad, or nothing. It just acquires all the information. So this medium, when used as documentation, that's why we love documentaries. There's nothing better than a great documentary, because you're looking at the truth. And then when you do dramatic film, fictionalization, like we did in Stand and Deliver, that is a completely different way of understanding. Not that it isn't entertaining, not that it isn't very, very productive, not that it doesn't touch the heart and the mind. It does. But man, the documentation, what FASE did with Jaime Escalante in their Futures program was unprecedented. They got him and documented him teaching over, 3 seasons at least. I think there was at least 36 to 40 hours that people can get and go in and watch a documentation of this man working. Not me representing him, not me doing an act of him, but of him really doing it. So to me, there's no higher form of using of this form, no higher way of using this form than a documentation. And that's what you guys are buying. You guys are buying a documentary. You're not buying a feature-length motion picture. That's completely different. Sure, certainly.
Also,
I'm hesitant to interrupt Mr. Olmos, but just to only add that, and if I understand, Mr. Springston, your question is that the funding would be for the documentary film.
Yes.
But FASE would also hope to be able to sell the rights to the film to someone who would make it into a feature-length film. If they do so, the agreement, the MOU that's been proposed, would provide that all of the funds that they receive for developing this and producing this in a full-length feature film format would go to Project Brownsville. It would not all come to the school district, but 25% of it would come specifically to the school district, specifically for the chess program. And I believe that's something that you all as board members and Mr. Springston as superintendent had to ask for, and I think that's an additional benefit that would come to you through this process. And if that's what you're asking, this money would only be for the documentary film, but FASE would then take that and try to turn that into a feature-length film. And if so, if they're able to do that, then
no, and I do thank you for sharing that with me, and both of you, and appreciate the information, because I know the last meeting that we had, it was Dr. Escobedo had asked to make sure that we had another legal opinion on the MOU. We actually went out and did that. You've answered my questions, you've answered the board's questions, and I feel very comfortable about the process, and I'm glad that communication and collaboration is working, and it's something that I think that everybody in Brownsville is going to fall in love with.
I do too.
So do I.
thank you, Mr. Springston. One more question. I know, is there another department that supports this program? Is it the Justice, or is it what kind of, I know that it's the highest level, and I think if they are behind it, I think we should be 100% behind it as well. If you can explain that, Mr. Haro.
Thank you. In our past projects, we've had funding from the Department of Justice, which obviously is the highest legal opinion of the work that FASE has done. We plan to go back and look for additional funding from the federal government, from the Justice Department, because within the DOJ, there's specific funding for projects like this. Because in many ways, they think this is a reduction of crime, anything that we can do to get our kids involved in projects that take them off the street. So we are very familiar with them, and they're very familiar with our work with FAZE. So we are going to continue our look for additional funds. But yes, the Justice Department has approved, and FAZE has one of the highest ratings as far as audits. They've stand scrutiny beyond the reasonable doubt. So we're very confident and comfortable, again, continuing the relationship that we have with FAZE.
For everybody's sake, that we all feel comfortable. I mean, I felt comfortable with this since the very beginning when this was presented to us back in November. But could you just maybe put an attachment so they see that the Justice Department, you've done work with them before in the past, they've done some funding for you before in the past. So since they are one of the highest, at least we know that, you know, you're getting their blessings, and maybe that'll help. But at this time, I already have a motion, so if I...
Hold on, we're not done with the discussion.
Not yet.
You're next.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Cortez. Just very briefly, I'd like to address Mr. Springsteen. I've seen some of your emails and heard some of your conversations. I know that we have a lot of priorities in this district. It seems like everything's a priority, but could we add this on our list of priorities?
It will be started on after we do the recommendations and motions, and we've already got a motion on the table that we need to go ahead and complete. Then I will immediately work with the attorneys for FASE and also our attorney and with our purchasing department, and we'll look at the properties and what we got to do, because there is a timeline within all procurement procedures, advertisement for a number of days, bringing it back and reviewing the advertisement and negotiations, and then bring it up to the board.
Absolutely. Do we have a motion on the table?
I have a motion.
Okay, if
We're
I
still
would,
in the middle of discussion, so.
Okay, I mean, I'd like to second the motion when the time comes, but I'd like the motion to be read clearly and approved by Mr. Saldaña and Mr. Springsteen. If the motion is acceptable to you.
Mr. Cortez, if I
She's not done.
I was just going to restate her motion if this is what she said.
Well, let's finish the discussion, and then we'll enter into a proper motion.
Anyways, I was saying, once the motion is clarified and if it's acceptable with Mr. Saldaña and Mr. Springsteen, then I'd like to second the motion when the time is right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just one last question. Title I funding, have you looked into that?
That is something that we've looked at, and for documentaries, it's not an area that we would.
Okay, so we can look at some, okay.
Yeah.
You have any more discussion?
No, I was just going to clarify that if her motion was to authorize it,
Hold
I'm just
on.
going to restate her motion, if I may, please.
Okay,
That's my
Give me a
discussion.
second. I just wanted to say something first.
Oh, I was
you
just
make
going
the
to,
motion.
okay.
Because then we're going to finish
She's
and we're going
making
to
the
vote. Right? Mr. Olmos, thank you for being here. You know, it's something, since I've been on the board, every year at budget time, this board has increased the budget for the chess program. Because you're right, we're sitting on a gold mine. I think it was just 2-3 weeks ago, I was sitting with Mr. Springsteen telling him that, you know, sometimes they bring these things to us and we don't fully understand exactly how it works until you see it into action. And I'm referring to those children that when you walked in and we're presenting these children for first, second, and third place for placing at regionals, and now they get to go compete at nationals. The way our funding is set up is if you qualify first, second, or third, the district will fund your trip to national conference. You know, and as I was talking to him, I'm glad to hear, you know, I had spoken with Mr. Otto about that 25%, and I thought that would truly help bring money back into the chess program, because one of the things that Mr. Springsteen and I were talking about, and we have a budget meeting on Thursday, in which we're going to discuss this very issue as well, is only the top 3 teams that place at regionals get funding from the district to participate at the national tournament. And it was my belief when we approved it that it was the top 3 within the school district that would go, regardless of whether you fell 2nd, 5th, or 6th, but if you were the top 3 within this district, because we are so large, that you would get funding, but I was incorrect. And so that's one of the things that we're going to go back and revisit, because even though we only honored 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, we had a lot of 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th place finishers that you know, maybe that day they had a bad day, but you put them in a national arena and they may do a little bit better. So that 120 students that we had here, it might have been 240 had the chess manual that we approved been worded slightly differently. And so that's one of the things that we're going to go back and look at and modifying the language so that we can get more children to compete at these national events. And so there's no question that anybody up here is opposed to this program. And I take a special point of pride today because I'm a first-year chess parent. Besides having supported the program for a few years, I had the privilege of having one of my children come up as one of the third-place finishers. And so I was especially proud of that. And so I thank you for coming out here. And I think everybody seems to be on board. And I know that Mr. Saldana has, like Ms. Garcia said, put a lot of hours into reviewing this with his firm. And you know that new MOU that we received obviously was a game changer. It gave it new leg, and the winds at our back now. And I think that with Mr. Springston on board now, then this board can move forward and hopefully enter into something that will further showcase Brownsville Independent School District students. And so I thank you for being here. And I guess now, Minnie, you wanted to make a motion?
Well, Ms. Scott, it was Ms. Scott's motion, but before, I have a few things to say. It's with great pride and joy and excitement that we have another board member who has children in the chess program. All my boys went through the chess program. My boys are now 25, 21, and 18. And they started where we had no backing, no financial support, nothing but parents pushing all the way to nationals. Our kids, my sons were the first to go to the national tournament, come back and be co-champions in junior high. So it gives me great pride that it's spreading like wildfire. And it's catching on. And I am so happy, Mr. Cortez, that you've entered your child into this program. Because I know when we started and BISD was funding, it was the top 3 in the district. If you place top 3 in your section in the district, the top 3 teams, be it 4th, 2nd, 3rd, you'd go. But what happened is that they all made it. It was like, oh my God, this is a lot of kids. It was like 30 teams. So they kind of went in there and kind of filtered it. Well, you have to place 1st, 2nd, or 3rd at state. Well, guess what? They did. Oh my God, it's still too high. Well, what happens is our community has spread out. Our kids have graduated. They're in college. They're now coaching the private schools, the valley teams. So now those kids are coming in and they're beating us because we're spreading our intelligence and sharing with them. I'll give you a case in point. Our children are asked to teach. My child asked me once, Mom, I am teaching a certain school. Yes, sir. Another school has asked me to do the same thing for their children. Okay. I'm having a problem. I said, why? Because how can I teach someone if I'm teaching my kids at our school and I teach those kids and those kids beat my kids? Isn't that going to be bad? I taught him this. Sir, you teach everyone the same thing. You don't teach them how to beat each other. You teach them how to win. Whoever goes and takes what you've taught further is going to win. And let it be where it is. But you share your intelligence, your knowledge, and your gift with all who ask, because that's what you were put here on earth. So I thank you, Mr. Cortez, for backing this program. Again, thank you, Mr. Olmos, Mr. Goza, Danny Haro, Mr. J.J. Guajardo, and Ms. Rachel Ayala, the mom of chess and the dad of chess. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, because without you, we wouldn't be here in this great moment, knowing that when you go anywhere near the chess world and you say you're from Brownsville, Texas, they shake in their shoes. They really do.
Okay, I motion to go out for RFPs.
No, the motion was
that to authorize administration to go out for RFPs.
Excuse me, it was the motion to authorize administration to go to seek a proposal. Am I correct?
For RFPs, yes.
Seek for RFPs.
Got a motion?
Motion.
Got a second by all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Mr. Saldana, we'll do that in the morning.
Congratulations, Brownsville.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Recess?
Take a 5-minute recess.
And we've got several of them that are out, but I do have Dr. Reynaldo Garcia is here. Doc, good to see you. Glad to have you on board with us, and updates, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, Mr. Springton, board members, my name is Reynaldo Garcia, and I come here representing the Bond Oversight Committee. Our monthly meeting was held last Thursday at the Security Building on Price Road. And Mr. Cesar Garza and Mr. Fuller has bringing them up to date on the progress of the construction sites, especially the Veterans Memorial High School and some of the middle schools that are being constructed right now. And Mr. Fuller has been keeping us, the school district, very accountable on how they're spending their monies on the schools. And we are extremely happy with the way that Mr. Garza and Mr. Fuller have been upfront and giving us all the details about the schools. We're extremely happy with the progress that has been coming along with the construction despite the delays with rain days. And we're also very happy with the way the expenditures are being expended. So we are happy and impressed with the state of the art of the schools. The children are really lucky to have these facilities, and I thank the board for choosing that road, and I thank the board for allowing the construction of these projects to go on. And this is why we have kids that are exemplary, just like in the chess and things like that. With these facilities, they can't go anywhere but to learn. You know, they have the best learning facilities. It's conducive to teaching and conducive to learning. So I just want to report that the meetings have been getting shorter and shorter because the projects are moving along. They're nearly to completion now. And the best of all is that the meetings we have are being televised and the public is aware of these progress that we're making. And that is good for them to know how our monies are being spent, because this is why the Bond Oversight Committee was implemented in the first place, to overlook how the construction is going to go and to make sure that the monies are being spent properly. So with that in mind, I just want to thank the school board and Mr. Springton for guiding this program to successful completion pretty soon.
I think we have a question for you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Garcia.
You know, I have a concern on, and I've walked some of the schools, and one of them that I walked just this week was the Veterans Memorial. And I've noticed that on the second floor, and it's where the science labs are, I'm wondering if with all the people that have viewed that campus, has it ever been brought up to anybody's attention, even prior, before we even started building that school, as to the width of a hallway that we have? And I was pretty devastated to see that a hallway that we're going to have at least anywhere between 200 to 300 students walking by down the hallway. It's only 9 feet wide. The other thing that caught my attention was that as you're walking down that hallway, there's like a little edge, like if you were to say a balcony, but not a balcony, but it's just like a show. I think that my question is, did anybody ever saw that it was going to be a condensed hallway where you could have had traffic going and coming if that hallway would have been 18 feet wide instead of the 9 feet wide? The other thing that really worries me is that you have waistline where you could just easily, somebody can be tipped over, and God forbid, this is just an accident waiting to happen. And I'm devastated to see that. And has anybody seen that, or has anybody thought of the what if? And I don't know. I know that the principal's been walking the school, administration has been out there, And I was not the only one that felt the same way. At the time that I arrived, there was another board member there, and we felt, we hadn't even discussed it. We shared the same information, and it was a worry.
Ms. Garcia, Dr. Garcia is just a representative of the Bond Oversight Committee. You have very legitimate concerns, but I'm not sure that Dr. Garcia would be the best person to answer them under this agenda item. I think that would be more suited for a facilities committee, because all they do is review what's presented to them and then come and let us know whether they believe administration's doing a good job with the bond monies.
But they don't look at the building?
You could ask him if he felt that that was a concern to the Bond Oversight Committee, but
Yes,
with respect
I
to all
think I
those
know
other
what you-
questions, they're better suited for a facilities committee meeting. But you may want to ask them
Yeah, well, that's
what the
my-
committee as a whole felt.
That's my concern, because if they're there as a committee, they're there at least to pick up things that
Oh,
are
I'm
being.
sorry. I thought you were asking Mr. Springston.
No. I mean,
Mr.
Dr. Garcia, can you want to expand on?
Yes, that issue came up, and we caught it, we recognized it, and we mentioned, they have a piece of glass about 1 foot tall, I believe it is, or 18 inches, that is over that side that is normal height of the banister there, and we had said that it should go up another 2 feet. However, the principal decided that it was best to have it at 2 feet because it was high enough that that should not happen. And there is a ledge at the bottom where that division comes up, and it's a glass partition there. And if you make it higher, it's going to need more supports. And we went ahead and pointed this out to the committee, to the Mr. Garza, and they went ahead and supposedly discussed it with the board, and they decided to just keep it at that level because it was not going to make much of a difference. The Galleria in Houston has a similar situation there, and they've never have any problems there with the people, and there's a lot of people there, and the halls are even smaller, or the walkway is even smaller in width than the high school. Now, we consider all the safety issues. In fact, all the concerns we brought about had to do with safety issues for the kids. And this was determined legally that, and then the construction regulations for such a thing are such that this is safe enough for the kids. And of course, if anybody wants to throw anybody over, they're going to do it, but it's not going to happen just by maybe leaning against the wall or against the partition there. It's just not going to happen in our estimation. And of course, we're only there to bring it up, but then the board ultimately makes those decisions. And of course, the contractor has to do some of that as well. So looking at it from the legal standpoint, we've done all we can to avoid any litigations or any accidents that might occur. So, but we understand your concern because we saw that ourselves. But we went back and forth, and finally, Mr. Garza, I don't know if he's here, he can perhaps expound a little bit more on that as how it finally got decided to leave it at the way it was.
Ms. Peña, you wanted to add something?
Yes, I would like to add, I've got pictures here. I noticed you use the word safe enough. That makes my hair stand on end. Safe enough. You made another point. A child's not going to fall unless somebody throws him over. This is high school.
It's high school.
My concern is, and I'm hearing you say it, and apparently it fell on deaf ears, because you were concerned that it was unsafe. But someone somewhere made enough noise to quiet down those that were concerned. Here's my point. What it's going to cost us if someone gets thrown over in legal fees is going to be more than what it cost us to build it all the way to the wall with the support. Not to mention there is no price for a life. I have pictures here. I went over there. I was appalled, completely appalled. And I'm sorry, sir, with all due respect, a life is worth its weight in gold. And I cannot believe, I don't remember it being brought to me. I don't, sir. I went over there. I was so disappointed. And I so congratulate you that you had a concern and you brought it up. But apparently it fell on deaf ears, or it got brought to where it didn't get brought to our attention loud enough, and it got slipped through. And I am not happy, and I do not put this in a facilities meeting. We cannot accept the high school like that. In no uncertain terms, Will we accept something that we're going to put a child at risk? Like the way the traffic department, with all due respect to the highway department, they don't put a light there until the right person gets killed there. We're not going to work like that. With all due respect, and I commend you on bringing up the concern, and I apologize it fell on deaf ears. I thank you for that.
Yes, I appreciate your comments. Like I say, we are only an oversight committee primarily to see how the funds are being expedited or spent, to make sure that there's no frivolous expenditures.
Yes, sir.
And these are not anything that comes to SAVI. We go ahead and say, bring it to the board so the board can give the final approval. But we are not there to make decisions. You as a board are the ones that make the final decisions, along with the contractor and the architect. Because this requires extra monies that we've been spending very frugally to where there is money still left in the budget for the buildings we've been doing. We haven't not gone over budget at all.
Thank you so much for that. And again, I apologize in advance that this slipped through me. I don't know how, but I will tell you that I won't rest till the proper corrective measures are taken to ensure the complete safety of our children. Not safe enough, complete. I know nothing is absolute, but we sure as heck can get as close to that line as possible. But I thank you so much for your hard work, because I know you dedicate all this time, and I thank you for bringing it up. And again, I apologize that it fell on deaf ears and it slipped by me, because I didn't catch it until I went and took pictures of it myself.
There's another issue that similar to that, and that is a fence that is going to be put between the school and a resaca that is there, a retaining pond. That's another concern that we had gone back and forth similar to this other one, and it was decided to have a fence only, I believe, 4 feet tall. Like that, 4 feet tall. They wanted it 6 feet tall. But legally, 4 feet is enough. They were thinking about putting a hedge instead of a fence, but they figured, no, the kids can still go through the hedge. So they decided to put that fence because we recognize there's a potential danger, and that fence is being built now. It was not in the budget, but we had enough money to be able to do that.
Did I hear you say that you recommended 6 feet?
No, I didn't recommend. Somebody mentioned maybe we need to go 6 feet, just because of the same reason you brought up.
And again, you mentioned the word enough, safe enough, 4 feet. You said that they thought that 4 feet was safe enough. See,
that
6 feet, if you climb up, somebody's going to catch you and say, hey, get down to the fence. 4 feet, you can hurdle it. They can hurdle it.
No, that's true. That is true.
Mr. Saez, if you could just start thinking as we get to item 12 on announcements, start thinking of a date. You can call a facilities committee meeting. Obviously, there's great concern about this. Dr. Garcia, thank you for your service on this committee, sir. As a former school board trustee, you understand these issues very well.
Yes, sir. Very much
So we thank you for your leadership on this committee. Thank you for coming up of your time and giving this presentation.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Rest assured that obviously we'll take a look at this in committee.
All right.
We're sorry, Dr. Garcia, sorry.
No,
It's
it's all
just
right.
we have concerns. And
This is why we give your reports to you, so we know, you know what's going on.
Thank
And if you don't like it, we need to perhaps be more alert on that.
No.
But
You're doing a great job.
You can only go so high in preventing things.
And I think that volunteering your time, that takes a big heart, and thank you for being part of the committee, and I'm sorry if I came across strong, but that's just me. That's the way I am.
No, you have every right. This is what we're here to be, a sounding board.
Thank you,
And,
thank you.
because the community has to know what's going on.
Yeah.
And through the televised meetings that we have there and you have here, they get to know exactly what's going on.
Thank you very
This
much.
is what it's all about.
Item
God bless
4.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Presentation of the Brownsville Independent School District Financial Report for the period ended December 31, 2009.
Mr. Springston, does anybody have any questions? Okay, item 5.
Item 5, presentation of the Brownsville Independent School District Quarterly Consulting Report for the second quarter of fiscal year 2009-2010.
Anybody have any questions on item 5? Item 6.
Presentation of the Brownsville Independent School District Quarterly Investment Report for the period ended December 31, 2009.
Questions? Item 7, Ms. Pat.
Presentation of notification of contingency fund change orders.
Any questions on number 7? Item 8.
Presentation, review, and discuss Discuss athletic budget programs and implementation of new and previously removed programs for middle schools and high schools. Board member request.
Ms. Garcia.
Yes, I believe I requested a yearly budget for all athletic programs. So since we're getting ready to work on budget come Thursday, I wanted to see some numbers and ask a couple of questions. It has been brought up to my attention numerous times that we removed a couple of programs from the middle school, and to me it doesn't make sense, because what we want to do is make sure that our athletes are competitive enough by the time they get to the high school level, and that they're prepared to be able to compete with other districts, that they still have those programs in existence. So if I was told we were going to get a report or something from the athletic department.
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
correct?
Do we have, there he is, Tom.
If I could, before he comes up, just let the record reflect that Mr. Escobedo left a few minutes ago.
Okay, Mr. Springsteen, Mr. Cortez, board members, I'm here today to answer as best I can item number 8. I'd like to invite Ms. Powers up here, and between us, I think we can answer any questions that we may need to answer. She is the administrator for middle schools, and Ms. Garcia, to get me on the right track, I'm thinking that the middle school programs that we're talking about are golf, swimming, and tennis.
That is correct, and they're your lifetime sports.
Yes,
so
the lifetime individual sports and lifetime sports. And another thing, just to get me on the right track, that they were at one time during the school year, and are you asking if they were removed or removed to where?
Yeah, my question is, were they eliminated? Were they completely
No.
removed?
No, they weren't removed. Nothing was removed in those 3 sports. They were rescheduled. And they were rescheduled to be placed at summer recreation. And so they weren't removed. Let me give you a little history of that as best I know it, and I've been trying to research it. All the 10 middle schools were afforded an equal budget, supplies, transportation, stipends for a certified coach during that time when they were at the school at the spring, where they were maintained during these sports were into spring. The season consisted of 4 weeks, Monday through Friday, and practice meets on Saturday. On March 25th, the junior high coaches and the principals had a meeting. They discussed the schedule of moving the off-site programs, swimming, golf, and tennis, under the summer recreation program, which is a 4-week period also. So it wasn't. It was just a reschedule from the school year to the summer recreation program. And they unanimously voted on that, to do that. And some of the reasons, there were several reasons for this. Year-round sports, middle schools needed to schedule around high schools, athletic period, and practices. Practices were to begin at 5 o'clock, and there were several incidents where parents were concerned that their children were getting home too late, requested an earlier practice. Campus principals had concern of supervision for students having to wait from 2:45 p.m. to whatever time the buses would get there to begin practice at 5 o'clock. Students would arrive at the sites at different times. So, the principals had concerns, and it came down to the campuses requesting transportation to pick up at 3:15 to practice. Very difficult for transportation to do that because it was in between elementary and high school times for the bus routes. So Mr. Chininos made an effort to assist us. He could help with the 5 buses, although the other 5 buses picked up students between 4:15 and 5:30. So there again, the students would get there at several different times. And those 5 buses were only for swimming, and that didn't include golf or tennis. If you combine all the sports, you're going to need about 33 buses. You got 11, you got swimming, golf, and tennis, and you got 11 schools, middle schools coming up, so transportation was a big issue at that time, and I'm not, blaming Mr. Chirinos or anything like that. It just, we had a little problem with transportation, and it's very difficult to get the buses, I understand, to all the middle schools, and then get them to the sites where they're playing golf, and get them to the sites to the aquatic center, and also to the tennis courts. So facilities and transportation were probably one of the biggest problems, and why it was moved to summer recreation. Summer recreation.
Mr. Chavez, as a school board member, I can tell you that we're very proud of our summer programs, but as a parent, I can tell you that it's very well organized. Last year when my daughter finished first grade, she went to one of your summer programs, the golf program, that 2-week program. It was very well organized. Her coaches were there. They gave them breakfast, and she's acquired, I guess, a small passion for the sport. And I hope to continue her in the summer program. So, just as a note to your department, it's very well organized golf program. Ms. Garcia?
Yeah, and you see, me personally, I think that if we're giving them 4 weeks in the summer, right, because some of these students already had prior practice during the school year, correct? So let's say that they do it during the school year, and then we offer them another 4 weeks during the summer. To me, it seems that the more you practice, the more you build your endurance and your ability and becoming familiar how competitive, and you need to be really competitive. My thing is that I want my students to be the best of the best, and I know they have the potential. So if, like Mr. Cortez says, for 2 weeks or 4 weeks in the summer, can you imagine if we offer them more? Because I know that we took away from them time. I mean, that's how I view it. Yes, we gave them 4 weeks, but prior to that, and I know because in the summer, your numbers are high, and it's good because we want our children to be out of the streets, away, from doing things that they shouldn't be doing, and we give them this opportunity. Some of them don't even want to leave the gym. Some of them are there, morning until they even go back in the afternoon. So if we really want our students to be to the level of expectation that we want them to be in, Win State and Win District, I think we need to give more, and we need to find a way as to how we can all meet and say, okay, if we have these students that made it to district or by district or state, can you imagine if we were to give them more? I mean, I know that it can be done. It's just a matter of getting together and seeing how we can make it happen.
Yes, Ms. Garcia, I mean, that's great. I'd love that too. I think all the coaches with our feeder schools and all the coordinators at the feeder school, they'd love that. We'd love to have that, and I think the key word, what you just said, if we can find a way. That's a key word there, because we can start right now, but we need to find a way. And right now, the situation that we're faced with is getting the students there on time and not having to be there at 5 o'clock and just find some schedule. All the coaches would really like that situation. All the swim coaches would like to have the swimmers there. All the golf coaches would like to have them on the golf course, and all the tennis coaches would like to have them on the tennis courts.
You know that we have a swim coach that she's very much dedicated to her career.